We are back on the ML Sports Platter. It's all brought to you by our good friends at Liverpool Physical Therapy and Burn Dairy. Gas up your vehicle today. Hot and cold food available. Of course, try the signature donuts, ice cream, chocolate milk, and more. All at Burn Dairy. It's all good at Burn Dairy. Thrilled to bring onto the program the author of this brand new book. It's called Unhittable: How Technology Mavericks and Innovators Engineered Baseball's New Era of Pitching Dominance. All over major bookstores and online where books are sold. It is Rob Friedman. How you doing, my friend? Congrats on this.
I am doing great. I suddenly want some dairy, though, now that you mentioned that.
I'm telling you, man, Burn Dairy's where it's at. Apple fritters, the best I've ever had. I was there over the weekend, actually, and grabbed some of their chocolate chip cookies as well. So, yeah, Burn Dairy's where it's at, man. There's no doubt about it. So
That's
if you're
awesome.
ever in the area, we'll hit up some Burn Dairy. How's that?
Absolutely.
All right. This age we're in with baseball, there's a lot of people frustrated because of the starting pitchers kind of gone away, and it's a bullpen game. A lot of people like it. Why did you write this book? What's the number one message in writing this book?
So the biggest reason I wrote it is I constantly get asked questions about like why everything looks different. Back in my day, pitchers did this, whatever. Or do pitchers really throw harder now? Or pitches really nastier? And it was really to kind of take stock of where we are, show how pitchers used to be and how they've been engineered to be today. So that was really the goal of the book. I've lived it myself as a coach and as a social media guy. So I figured I'd share and hopefully maybe put some of those questions to rest.
And obviously, a lot of people will have opinions on this, right? And one of the opinions too is that with every time you look up, it seems there's a pitching injury. There's Tommy John. There's this. There's that. There's shoulders. Once a guy gets a TJ, the overcompensation might lead to another injury. And yet we have Justin Verlander and we have all these other guys. Clayton Kershaw obviously just hung him up, but we have some guys who are the Scherzers of the world. They've kind of gone through both eras to an extent, right? They've gone through almost the end of what was Juan Marichal, Sandy Koufax, Roy Halladay, Jack Morris type stuff, Madison Bumgarner. And they're now in the game still, but the pitching outings are shorter. They've kind of crossed over. How do you blend in this book those guys and that world of, that there is both, because the 3 innings now for Scherzer used to be 9.
Absolutely. And Max has talked about that. Like when he first started out, it was like you can ramp your way up. You can throw 91 in the first inning. Hitters aren't going to jump on your fastball. And then, ramp it up as the game goes on. Now he finds that hitters are trying to do damage right away. And that's why you see pitchers come out throwing gas and throwing their best stuff, breaking off breaking balls early in the game. It used to be to rely on your fastball and then set things up later in the game. But now hitters have gotten smart. They know that it's very tough to put together a rally, so they're giving it their best from the very start, and pitchers have to do the same. And when you do that, you tend to tire out a little bit, and it's more like a relay race than it is a actual, one guy, and this is your marquee dude. We still have some of those. I mean, but a horse is someone that goes more like 7 innings and goes 9 innings. We don't have the Bob Gibsons and Nolan Ryans that would just complete game or bust.
So years ago, I was on the Steven Strasburg trail when he was a member of the Syracuse Chiefs, and he was coming up through in the Nationals organization and obviously pitching to sellout crowds and standing room only and all that. And I saw him a bunch of times in Syracuse, and I saw him in Rochester. Actually, I drove out. It was pouring rain, canceled the game. I drove back the next night and saw him pitch. And he's not in the game anymore. I mean, there was a point in time where I heard him on Dan Patrick where he said driving hurt, sitting hurt, just the arm, the tingling, the pain and all that. Paul Skeens is a monster. He's got a similar lower body where he's really, really strong. But to me, when I watch him, there's not as much as Strasburg, right? The elbow whip and the arm out. Maybe more compact, more power straight forward and through. And do we see something like that and feel better? Where do you land on Skeens when you watch him pitch, how he pitches, comparing him to other guys who blew out early, had to recover? Now, Strasburg won an MVP in the World Series, but he's not in the game anymore. With Skeens, he's the guy now. How do we keep him healthy? What do you see? Is it the body build delivery that's different that makes us feel better about his health?
A lot of what you see with your eyes kind of deceives you. There are people that thought that Max Scherzer was going to break down because his mechanics, he had an inverted W and all this stuff, the buzzwords, and yet he's a first ballot Hall of Famer. It's very tough to tell with your eyes because just think about other injuries that you have. It's not like UCL is that unique. You
Right.
have people getting injured in a whole bunch of different ways. We can't really tell with our eyes. You have to look deeper than that. That being said, some of the ways that you fight this are, instead of overpowering people with velo, if you're still throwing, we haven't seen Skeens touch 102 like he did in college again. He can do it. He's backed off a little bit, and now he's focused on commanding the zone, setting up hitters, and also multiple pitches. So if you're able to throw multiple pitches that look the same, that's another way to get hitters. You may get seen because you throw hard, but in the end, throwing hard definitely helps. But having multiple pitches also helps. And you're going to see a trend of that where people are developing a lot of pitches as opposed to Strasburg, who you're talking about, like a fastball, changeup, curveball, the four basic food groups. You're seeing guys with 7, 8 pitches now.
See, food, it always comes into baseball, right? We started with the burnt dairy stuff, now baseball.
Dude, I got it in my head now.
Chocolate milk, apple fritters, change-ups, and curveballs, of course. The book is out. Go get it. Major bookstores, Amazon.com, online where books are sold. It's how technology, mavericks, and innovators engineer baseball's new era of pitching dominance. It's called Unhittable. The author with us here, Rob Friedman. A couple more for you, Rob, on the ML Sports Platter, brought to you by Burn Dairy and Arc of Onondaga. When people get to that last page, they get done reading it. Baseball fans, coaches, people, former players, whoever. What do you want them to say? What do you want them to think about this?
I want them to understand the people, really. So it's less about stats and more about the people behind it. And it took a whole village of folks to make pitching to where it is today, from Tom House to guys like Michael Fisher from Codify, who does heat maps, to Barton Smith, who kind of discovered the seam shifted weight concept. And then, having it filter down to colleges, it just shows you kind of these guys aren't necessarily baseball players that have changed the sport. These guys are from outside the sport that have come in and had a major impact on what we see today. So 2 things. I want people to understand like where pitching has been and where it is today, why the game looks kind of different, and where it's going and whether that's the right balance. Like, do you want to see strikeouts all the time, or do you want hitters to adjust? Should hitters change their approach? How are hitters catching up? And whether this is the game that we love or it needs to be changed. I think it's a valid debate.
Where did Pitching Ninja come from?
I was coaching, and my son actually at one point was wearing a bandana over his face, and they said that he looked like a ninja because, he's half Japanese. Well, my wife is half Japanese. He's a quarter Japanese. And he's like, I don't like that nickname. I'm like, dude, I'm the coach. I'm the ninja. I am the pitching ninja. I'm taking it. And that's where it came from.
That's it. You stole it from him, and that
did.
was it.
Yep.
That's good parenting. So what about the youth level? You just mentioned your son. What about, they're getting worked, man. They're throwing a lot of innings and they're throwing really hard at that level, and people are worried. Are you worried?
Worried, but I understand it. Like, in order to get seen, that is the easiest way to get seen. The one objective thing you have is somebody behind, they wouldn't hold radar guns if it wasn't important when you're looking at, college coaches and stuff. Do you have to throw as hard as you can? When you're 10, you can work on mechanics that can get you there, but I less care about what like velo doesn't really matter. You're not getting signed then. But it is important, like, to say that it's not, we can say it, but if you want to get signed, I've been through it. That's the one thing that jumps out. Are we working them too hard? We need to work them smarter and understand what we're doing to kids and whether that is really their dream or the parent's dream. If it's the parent's dream, back off. You had your day. If it's a kid's dream, get them good coaching, have them ramp up a proper way. Like, you don't just go out and throw hard. You have to teach them, how to use their body, how to build up everything. And when it's important to throw hard and when it's not. And rest is important too. And we don't focus on that enough. Letting the body recover is very important.
You made mention of, the strikeout thing. There's strikeouts, walks, and home runs, and the game is filled with that kind of stuff. But in the postseason, when you get there, you see teams play with the blend. You have the old school and the new school. I'm all in on the analytics that make sense. I'm into WAR. I'm into the ones that make sense as long as we can blend what actually is baseball with it. But it seems like it's not like that. It seems like there is a major 85%, if not more, of the analytics, and then there's everything else. I want to believe it's 80-20, but And look, my favorite team, the Yankees. I mean, they've been all over the analytics stuff for a long time. Brian Cashman tries to tell you that they are a lot of traditional stuff, but I know he's lying through his teeth. So when you see the analytics, how important to you with pitching blended into that is the blend?
Yeah. So analytics is another word for information. And we all think having information is important. Whether you rely on that information to be all and end all is a whole different thing. I prefer my pitchers to compete. When they're out there, information is overload. I want them out there to compete, play a sport, and do what they do best and not overthink. Same thing with hitters. I happen to love postseason baseball. There's a huge difference, and actually strikeouts matter more in postseason because hitters make an adjustment and they're trying to put the ball in play, move runners over, traditional baseball that we're used to seeing. Where during the regular season, it's almost like the NBA's become 3-point dunks, 3-point dunks. In MLB, it's home runs, strikeouts. To win one game, I think putting the ball in play and playing fundamental baseball is really important. To win over the season, you can get by with other stuff.
Yeah, like Venezuela in the World Baseball Classic.
Beautiful baseball.
Baseball. And they still had the power. It's not like that went away. I mean, people will tell you, and this is true, teams that hit the most home runs usually win the championships. You can look at that, and that's true. Pennant winners and World Series winners, even contenders, division winners, like they got there with a home run too. That's fine. But, the blend, I'm all about blend. The final question I have for you is this, Rob. If the ball were to be put in play more, I'm not going to go back and say, well, back in John McGraw's day, if you could just do the, slam it on the ground and do the whole, the McGraw ball thing and play like Ty Cobb. I'm not saying that, and like the dead ball era, not like that, but just maybe a little 80s, a little 90s, and maybe a little bit more beyond, a little bit more in play. If there was more coaching to do it and more bunting and more things that could have ruined the shift so they didn't have to change the shift, how would pitchers, how this book is written, how our era is today, how does all of this adjust to that, do you think, if they added it more?
Yeah, I think you will see, people like back in Nolan Ryan's day, the reason why he didn't have a ridiculous number of strikeouts, even though he did, but, one season, K per 9 wasn't incredibly high. It's because hitters did that. They wore pitchers out. So I think you would see a lot more of that. I think pitchers might back off velo and just be smart and pitch it where they're more likely to get weak contact. The problem is weak contact is still contact, and those runners do sometimes reach base. Strikeouts rarely reach base unless, the catcher drops the ball. So there still is a focus on that, and that's why the game has shifted the way it has, is strikeouts are definitely an out. Balls in play can be a hit, even if it's weak.
Well, it's out. Go get it. It's called Unhittable, How Technology, Mavericks, and Innovators Engineered Baseball's New Era of Pitching Dominance. He's the author, Rob Friedman. How about this testimonial from Tarek Skubal, the Cy Young Award winner in 24 and 25. He says, I started following Pitching Ninja, see the name again, back in college and loved how he broke down the pitching side of the game. He considers all aspects of the game, our training, thought process, how pitching has evolved over the years. Unhittable gives an insight into the technology, mindset, and work behind being a pitcher in today's game. That's a heck of a testimonial there from one of the best in the game, Tarek Skubal, the ace of the Detroit Tigers. Glad he stayed, at least for the here and now, by the way, as well. We are brought to you by Burn Dairy and Liverpool Physical Therapy. LPT, go get your post-op PT today at Liverpool Physical Therapy. This is the ML Sports Platter. Rob Friedman, thanks for coming on. Congrats on the book. Let's do it again soon. I can't wait to see what's next, my friend. All the best to you.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me.